Chuck Schumer's got the mask on, and look at Colbert, no mask, spreading pandemic viruses. Look, he's dancing, high-fiving and dancing with Chuck Schumer. What is this? Well, what kind of signaling is this?
Can you imagine Bill Hicks fucking dancing with a senator?
Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never really a stand-up.
Colbert and I
Horrible
are
to
not
me.
friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want
But
everybody.
the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's not.
There are now hordes of comedians scrambling to protect the late-night king, as the aftermath from Stephen Colbert's acting at CBS has blossomed into a full-fledged media circus. However, other people are not following the same path. There are a few ruthlessly honest voices criticizing Colbert for his current state. Joe Rogan and Bill Maher were in the forefront of that effort. Colbert was criticized by these two for abandoning his position as America's comic relief and becoming simply another anti-Trump spokesperson. The flamethrower, Joe Rogan, arrived first.
These people are all friends, like Rachel Maddow and Democratic Party politicians. They're friends.
Have you ever seen a video of Chuck Schumer and Stephen Colbert dancing together?
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
You need to see it.
Do we have time?
You need to see it.
Yeah.
You need to just see them dancing together. and I feel the same way about comedians that you do about journalists. You know, like you can't be friends with those people because there's gonna come a time where you have to talk about them.
Colbert was set on fire by Joe Rogan for sleeping with the Democrats. Now, let's be clear. Rogan is not advocating for anti-politician sentiment. He's bringing to light a straightforward yet unsettling fact. Power tends to make you lose your spine when you go too near to it. It's almost tough to hold politicians accountable when you know them too well. That's where the danger lies. And for that reason, people like Kimmel and Colbert Stewart find it difficult to criticize anything the left does incorrectly. Their prejudice isn't coincidental. It's ingrained in their bonds. Trump is the chosen punching bag, as he isn't their friend, doesn't join them in toasting champagne, and doesn't appeal to their audience. Their alleged criticism of the left, if it exists at all, is a gentle tap.
Miller ran into that with George Bush. I remember being incredibly disappointed because I was a Dennis Miller fan. As a comic, he was a very good comic. And, you know, his HBO special was brilliant. Had some great jokes, great one-liners.
Absolutely.
But then he said he was going to give George Bush a pass because he's his friend and he wouldn't make fun of him. Look at this. Chuck Schumer's got the mask on, and look at Colbert, no mask, spreading pandemic viruses.
That wasn't all Rogan did. Holding politicians accountable with scathing, unafraid comedy, he put the fire on, scolding Colbert for violating the fundamental core of their trade. He attacked Colbert for eschewing satire in favor of self-effacing left-wing pandering and adopting an anti-Trump agenda that eventually failed. The true kicker was Colbert, the same man who gave Americans lectures about pandemic procedures, who was unable to even follow his own guidelines. He shamelessly went without a mask while lecturing the rest of us on compliance. Colbert's comedy ceased to be rebellious and began to sound more like state-approved propaganda. Rogan said, tearing into the hypocrisy, "It is detrimental to the entire kingdom when the court jester turns into the king's yes man." Rogan made sure everyone was aware of this.
Imagine Bill Hicks fucking dancing with a senator.
Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never really a stand-up, so I mean, I guess he has that.
No, but I
he's-
mean,
he was a comic when the Colbert Report was on. I mean, that was hilarious.
It was really good.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great, and that show was a great takeoff of a pompous, ridiculous Republican.
Exactly.
I mean, it was really good. And then when you see this, you're like, wait a minute, what are you doing?
Right.
The are you doing?
And why were you doing the other thing before? Like,
Right.
was it to do that?
You know, a lot of these comedians aren't interested in exposing injustice or promoting social change. A distinct ladder is being climbed by them. For them, comedy serves as a means of gaining entry into the affluent and powerful circles they used to deride. Power is no longer being challenged. The goal is to integrate with it. At the first sign of invites to high society, the edgy truth-teller routine is abandoned. Only a small percentage of people truly utilize their craft to improve society or question the current quo. They seek out the benefits instead. The media deals, the political influence, and the private parties. They follow orders like obedient foot soldiers, doing whatever their paymasters ask of them after they have experienced that authority. Colbert attacked Trump nonstop for this reason. The proper people were happy. not because it was morally good. He ceased to be an opponent of power and turned into another piece in its scheme. Joe Rogan now tells the story of how Colbert was absorbed by the machine.
I think what happened was, and I'm just going to guess, but I think what happened was he had this brilliant character. It was amazing on The Daily Show. Then he does the Colbert Report. It's amazing there. It's a great show, right? And then they offer him the carrot. What's the carrot? The carrot's a late night talk show.
Right.
And the late night talk show for, I guess, kind of my generation was the thing that everybody wanted. Kimmel and Fallon and all these guys, like, you got to host the Tonight Show, or Jimmy Kimmel's got his own show. You got your own show. You got the Letterman show. You got this show, that show. That was the thing, man.
Right.
If you could get your own show like that, like, you were in. If they offered it to you, you took it.
Joe Rogan has a brilliant theory. I'm inclined to believe him, to be honest. This isn't some crazy conspiracy. We have repeatedly observed this pattern. Behind the curtain, the puppet masters required a new stooge, someone who is adaptable enough to disguise their story as comedy. Who then did they select? Colbert Stephen. He was already eyeing the golden throne of late-night television, The Late Show, which is a dream job for most comedians. Instantly, the machine began to dangle the bait. Unrestricted access to Hollywood and political elites, millions of wealth, and a huge platform. Colbert made no hesitation. He accepted the deal, and in doing so, exchanged partisan preaching for incisive satire. It was no accident that he turned into a furious, anti-Trump lunatic. It was an intentional change driven by ambition and molded by the people in charge. Following the accepted script became more important to him than making others laugh. However, Joe doesn't stop there.
That show guy, he has to be a different guy. So now he's not. Colbert from the show was this genius parody. Now he's just Stephen Colbert.
Right.
That's who he is.
They destroyed the essence by giving him something.
The best example of it was when Jon Stewart came on, and Jon Stewart was doing that bit about the lab leak theory. And Colbert is jumping in and stepping all over it.
Right.
And I'd like to see some evidence of that. Like, he's like f***ing up the bit. Clearly, Stewart, who's a great comic, is in the middle of a bit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And Colbert's trying to, he's like, you can see the panic in his eyes that this is not going along with the narrative. So he's hamstringing the bit.
Right.
Which is crazy to see.
Bias is a part of everyone. Every one of us has a bias. We all vote for different political parties, but Colbert's prejudice wasn't immediately apparent. It was sickening. At last, we see why he was more than simply another liberal opinionator. He was a well-paid spokesperson who told his left-leaning bosses what they wanted to hear. For publicity and adulation, the man compromised his morals. Do you recall that awful stunt he did when the vaccine was mandated? In fact, he performed a musical piece that was so embarrassing that he brought out dancers dressed in absurd syringe costumes. It was not satire. It was not a joke. It was laugh-track propaganda. No, Colbert was not questioning authority. It was something he was defending, dressing it up with flimsy jokes and claiming it's bold. While he was preoccupied performing song and dance routines for the establishment, true comedians were challenging power. Neither comedy nor truth were his loyalties. To the story, that isn't funny. Complicity is that.
Like, I think that's true with comics, with any kind of journalist. Like, once you start getting, handed things, then you've lost. You know what I mean? They have you at that point. And you got to get out of that habit, It's like, or you can't cross that line.
You can't cross that line. You can't. But if you want to be on a talk show, you have to cross that line. There's no other way you get on that show. You can't get on that show and have some real counterculture narrative that is not approved and sanctioned, and you spit it out there on it.
When it suits the puppet masters, someone like Jon Stewart can disappear from the public eye for years and then be thrust back into the forefront. This explains why these influential people never take their money to retire. Until they are once again useful, they push them. When the time comes, they brush them off, give them the script, and give them precise instructions on what to say. Not enough space for autonomous thought. Real dissension is not allowed. Instead, there is studio-approved speeches, manufactured fury, and a phony edge that neatly targets the proper individuals. Even worse, these so-called comedy icons are forced to pull off awkward, ridiculous actions that leave viewers incredulous. Not with laughter, but with incredulity. It's pathetic. Not hilarious. However, that is the price you pay for giving your soul to the machine. You are their property once you sign that deal. Your look, your voice, your timing, and even your alleged values. You don't tell the truth to authority. Your speech is a punchline disguised as power.
You're right that all the comics that were supposed to put everybody to bed or whatever it is, they all went bananas left. I mean, Colbert, these guys are terrible. Like Kimmel to me is just maybe friends with him. I know a lot of people
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, like he's
Colbert and I
horrible
are
to
not
me.
friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want
But
everybody.
the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like he
No.
doesn't like me and I don't like him, and we don't deny it, and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
Colbert?
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's also
meaning-
very successful.
No, but he's just giving the machine what it wants all the time.
Bill Maher has never held back when expressing his contempt for Stephen Colbert. He has repeatedly criticized him for blatantly flattering the powerful people in the industry and never challenging them. Maher is able to see right through it. Colbert does not question the system. He is the system, as well as one of the most obvious indicators that someone is a puppet. They're kept in positions they never really merited or earned. One of the nation's most prominent talk shows included Colbert as its main guest. However, as Joe Rogan correctly noted, he never really fit the bill. It was a forced charisma. Jokes felt secure. Furthermore, there was no trace of the edge that distinguished outstanding late-night hosts.
For my differences with
That
you, I totally respect you.
Is well said.
Yeah.
Giving the machine what it wants. I
Yeah.
wish I had thought of that phraseology.
He was not selected due of his superiority. His willingness led to his selection. Ready to repeat what has been said. Willing to give up genuine humor in favor of predetermined compliance. And to be amiable with the powerful. For years, Colbert has failed his viewers. And finally, they stopped coming. The audience came for wit, nuance, and well-balanced comedy that could make fun of herself and everyone else, not for partisan preaching. But Colbert continued to deliver the same old Trump tirades night after night until the punchlines became meaningless, instead of offering new perspectives. Sharp humor gave way to political preaching, and the program became old and predictable. The show itself underwent a significant change, not the audience. Colbert traded satire for pre-written talking points, sold out comedy for influence, and transformed a once-respected platform into a mouthpiece for the wealthy. Bill Maher and Joe Rogan were among the critics who criticized him for straying from comedy's intended function of opposing rather than advancing power. When audiences saw, they stopped paying attention. Colbert ultimately lost credibility as well as viewers, because the joke is no longer on the audience when comedians turn into puppets. The performance is to blame, and nobody is giggling.